seconds. So welcome everyone to the 5th episode of the Conscious Living Community. Thanks to those who are joining tonight, anyone else who's watching this online after. Tonight it's going to be a shorter session. It's Bank Holiday Monday here in the UK. I've had a long weekend myself. I've had a chance to get out and actually get some sunshine when I've had my one walk and exercise per day. And hello, and yes, getting used to the group chat there. Thank you. Welcome, Linda. And it's interesting that now I reflect, it's been a month since this all really happened. You know, I lose track of when it really happened, started, and it was like, whoa, it was almost like it was on the horizon for a long time. And it was like, for me, taking stock now and why I created this to create a community, to create opportunity for sharing, and also to share, my role as a coach and a therapist, what I'm seeing. And the big thing for me is where I share my own experiences. But I'm really interested in hearing from other people's experiences. So the theme tonight around just riding the roller coaster. So when I talk about this metaphor, right now, there's so much uncertainty going on in the world out there. And there's a lot of thinking that it can generate. I know it's hugely and massively affected all of our lives. For some of them, some of us in the front line, they're working crazy hours. They're risking their life to protect others. And then for others, the financial insecurity that is created, the uncertainty about what's going to happen in the future. And, for so many companies, small businesses, people, their life and soul, losing everything, people losing loved ones, not being able to, there's so much going on. But from my point of view, humans in history have gone through huge, whether it's wars, famine, all these things. And from my point of view, I'm really interested as a coach about how this inbuilt resilience, which I believe we have, can help us navigate these difficult times. But also, and this is where I really want to focus in for people tonight, in terms of your own experience. So I know, and I'm going to share quite a lot of my own experience here. When I talk about the riding the roller coaster, it's a metaphor that can be explored in so many different ways. Because I know in the space of the last 7 days, I've had days, my mantra is all about taking it a day at a time, making the best of the situation, taking the principles of Stoic philosophy and the heart of CBT and good understanding of how our minds work and how our brains work. It's like, what can I control? Where do I have that sense that I am the creator of my experience? But it goes much deeper than that. And knowing that day to day, sometimes I'm going to see where my experience is coming from. And that's what I'm going to go through a little bit tonight. And then those days when I don't. Because for me, the big thing about riding this roller coaster at the moment, it's easy to lose my bearings. And it's easy to get overwhelmed by what's going on out there. And then sort of forget where my experience is coming from. So something I teach a lot is basically the whole idea that the human psychological experience is always changing. It's always in flow. It's always in flux. It looks like we are a static object. The Lawrence is experiencing life. But that's not actually how it really works. It just looks like my experience of life is as Lawrence. And the whole thing that I see again and again, because I can just share a concept here, but the fundamental aspect that I see so helpful in these really difficult times, if I ask myself, where is my experience coming from? Is it coming from out there in the outside world? And therefore, if I read the news, I see something, it's going to basically cause my experience of fear, anxiety, or add to my already busy mind? Or can I see and can I catch myself and see, where's this experience of life coming from? Where is, in any moment, if I say I'm feeling a little bit anxious, what is actually causing this? The moment of opportunity, this is fundamental to how this guides me through life now. It's like a North Star. When I see that all my experience of life is coming from within the creative incubator of my own mind, I can take a step back. So when I am feeling slightly anxious, I can jump to the pretty obvious conclusion. Well, I'm feeling anxious because of what's going on out there in the outside world. It's completely logical, yeah? But then I can have moments, and I've had moments in the last week where, my outside circumstances are exactly the same.
Mm.
It's the same, daily bad news with, people dying, and we hear the global reports of various levels of lockdown, and then the financial, implications. That's kind of a constant hum of bad news and things that, yes, would cause us to feel that compassion, understanding, and sadness. But the degree to which I feel anxious, overwhelmed, or very sad, or very depressed, or in grief. A lot of people are talking about the grief cycle at the moment. When I put the immediate cause and effect to how I'm feeling to the outside, I am actually giving my power away. Now, I'm not being, I'm coming from heart here. This isn't just about teaching a concept. It's the idea that we're not neutral to what's going on outside of us, but we have to factor in our own state of mind, our own understanding of where our experience is coming from. Because I've had those moments of grief, a feeling of real depression, memories stirred up from years ago, and then get really sucked into the fear of, what does this mean? Whether I'm just all, soaked up in Lawrence world, what does this mean for me and my life? But what does it mean for the wider world? Because I want the world to be okay. And then, and this is the fascinating thing, within a couple of days, did I do any work really? Did I try and manage my experience? Or did I just do what I have to do to maintain my well-being? Whether it's getting my exercise, getting some sunlight, eating, sleeping as properly and well as I can. But then something just lifted me up again. And the whole world looked different. Yes, the crisis and the facts of the matter had not changed. But my experience and the eyes through which I was seeing this very difficult time were different. And it's this whole idea, and this is why we share the metaphor of the roller coaster of human experience. Now, in that moment when I was maybe feeling depressed and low and just really so unresourceful, I was like, well, there's something wrong with me. I'm never going to get out of this. So picture that roller coaster. I'm at the bottom of the roller coaster. There is no way out. I'm gonna try a bit of technology here. It wasn't quite as I planned tonight. But I got my whiteboard here, so you can see my roller coaster here. So when it's a bit of a rocky ride, a bit of a sharp edge there. I don't want to be going down there, but if you can take the spirit, what I'm attempting here, but basically, I was right down here. Oh no, that's a line. There you go. Sorry. I'm gonna basically, if I get hang on, that's gonna draw. There we go. I was down here. very unhappy, yeah? I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was never going to get out of being at the bottom. I was completely lacking insight. I was trapped. And all I could think was, well, basically, there's only one way from here. I'm probably only going to go down. And then the rumination began to happen because I was really beginning to cogitate, ruminate, chew over, must be something wrong with me. Am I ever going to get out of this? I gave my well-being away innocently because I thought being at the bottom of this roller coaster, remember, it's just a metaphor. So in this version of the metaphor in the roller coaster, I was in a low place. You could say low mood. I could label it from a subjective experience point of view. I was feeling overwhelmed, I think you would say. And I didn't know what to do. And I did share with someone close to me and try to work through stuff. But I did know underneath it all, yeah, it's like anything I really basically do with a lot of overthinking and analyzing. And imagine if it's like, well, I'm going to go and drink a bottle of wine. That would definitely change my state, yeah, the state of my mind. But ultimately, the overall effect potentially would drag me down even further. But I kind of held tight because what I'm sharing here is fundamental to the human design. And I want people to reflect. So this is an open question I'm just putting out there for tonight, for people to reflect on. That maybe there's been a moment in the last week or two when you've been feeling very low, overwhelmed, anxious, just as I was just describing, but in your way. And whether it was something you've been dealing with maybe for some time now in terms of dealing with difficult feelings, something in your life that's very challenging, or is it actually quite a new thing? It's like, wow, I didn't think this crisis would have this impact on me. But the point is here, what was going to bring me up? That's the fundamental question. When we're in a low place, yeah, I don't want to be there. I would prefer to be up here. Again, this metaphor, just reminding people, it's not that we should live life on the top of the roller coaster. But it's, generally the views up there are a lot nicer. We all want to be in a good experience as much as we can. We all want to be experiencing just that lovely flow, that freedom, that basically living life with not much on our mind, but also not just about enjoying life, of service to others, enjoying our work, enjoying nature, enjoying everything, if you like, but also in a place of, I am resourceful. I can deal with things. So my point is here, when we're down here, when it's not just business as usual, we really can get focused on what this means for me and this whole outside world. Basically, we can end up giving our well-being away. Thank you for sharing that. And this is the thing, there are some circumstances. I know people who've lost people recently. I know people that, close member of my family is going through a lot of health issues right now. And, the treatment she's going through just puts her in a place of vulnerability. It's really challenging, yeah. But from my point of view, our capacity to deal with what is the reality out there of the facts of life. There is this coronavirus. There is huge financial insecurity. There's implications for our individual health, our own prosperity. It's so much going on. And for me, I can't be physically near the person I most want to be with right now. But bringing it back to this point, when we're down here, we want to get up here. And then I think what's going on for a lot of people, that when we feel like life's coming at us, and basically I'm only going to be okay again when basically life's gone back to some kind of normal, whether we're back to work in some kind, or, you know, social distancing measures, we can travel. I'm interested in the fact that this is always happening. This roller coaster is always happening. Because I've had in the last, you know, few days, after this low point, 3 days later, I was like, what was I thinking? You know, when I thought about the content of what I was sharing. Absolutely. And a new perspective can come through. So thank you for sharing that, about being able to be positive. Yeah. Right here, down here, I couldn't be positive. I couldn't positively think my way towards a better place. I could try. I could do the basics. Like I said, look after my well-being, make sure I was eating well, sleeping, resting. But I knew deep down, built in to the design of us as human beings, I wasn't going to stay here unless I started really fighting with my experience. And then lo and behold, I kind of got back up. I was like, whoa, a greater place. I'm not going to say it was all, you know, I'm not being trite here, yeah? But there was a bit of clarity, a bit of gratitude emerged, a bit of being able to go, wow, okay. And therefore my ability to say, you know what, I can deal with this right now. Absolutely, yes. And, you know, I'm just talking to the moment here, and I love the fact that you're sharing as we go along. So somebody just mentioned, that reminds me of the poem you shared. I don't know, Linda, if you've seen the Guest House by Rumi, an amazing poem that is so apt for this time, because we can end up focusing on the external circumstances. And yes, so the whole idea of the Guest House by Rumi, this malice, this depression, this bad feeling, it's like a guest house. This human, you know, experience is a guest house. And what he's talking about in that, you know, this is 700 years old, this wisdom, about welcoming in. And the key, I should have recited this, be able to recite this by heart by now, because it is so powerful. You know, it's an entire bit of wisdom to guide us through life, but welcome them in, because maybe they are basically coming in to bring in something new. If we're not afraid of it, if we're not going to welcome in, we are resisting our experience. And so, you know, what emerges from that poem is that if we don't resist our experience, and as we all, you know, often mention in this group, the Sid Banks quote about not, the one thing we could learn was not to be afraid of our experience, that alone would change the world. So the point is here, when we're down here, when we're in this really low place, when we're not afraid of it, I think our capacity to come back up again grows. And absolutely, when we get back up here, we can say, well, actually, there wasn't anything wrong with me. I was just having an experience. It was a temporary construction. It was something that, yes, no matter what my circumstances, underneath it all, there's a part of me that's left untouched. It's just the human dimension. And so our capacity to ride the waves of experience, this roller coaster, for me, I see more and more, life is my teacher. Yeah? This experience of this crisis is teaching me so much. It's interesting. I was watching earlier, so Facebook Live by John C. Maxwell. I think he's probably one of the most influential leadership coaches, written a lot of books around leadership. And, you know, he had a lot of wisdom to share. But it's this whole thing about how we can grow through an experience. It's not about seeing the opportunity. It can all sound a bit mercenary there. But the current situation is almost like an invitation, yeah? where maybe we've been struggling with something in our life. We wanted to create some change anyway. We've been feeling stressed or overwhelmed. We've been feeling some depression or anxiety. This situation is that really brings it home, yeah? And there's also a permission to take a step back. But all I know, and this is what I really want sort of people to focus on, that if you've had these low moments like me, something has lifted you up and brought you back up to a place of greater clarity. And all I know is I can't stay here forever. Because it isn't interesting, and this is where the quote by George Pransky, really influential teacher on me, he talked about the trick in life is about being graceful in the lows. And think about grace, yeah? It's the whole idea of the Rumi poem. We're kind of just accepting it. We're not fighting it. So from that place of grace, the trick in life is to be graceful in the lows and grateful in the highs. And when he says grateful, it's not saying, look at me, I'm up here. It's just knowing, it's like, wow, beautiful. Because another thing I also see a lot in my own life, I can wake up feeling great, full of energy, full of beans and everything. I'm in love with the world, yeah, I'm in love with life for no good reason. And this is the thing, it's like, you know, for some people, I think when they're feeling positive right now, don't spread the love too much because this is a very serious situation. And, you know, we shouldn't be having too much of a good time. But that's not the point, is it? It's the fact that, for me, being up here, it's actually a beautiful, natural, kind of neutral. Because when I attach how I'm feeling to my outside circumstances, and I mean both ways, I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed because everything going on in my life. But also, when you think about other times, I'm feeling happy because, you know, my career's going well. My family are all happy. It's a very human thing to do. But what it can end up doing is tying our well-being, our sense of being okay, our sense of being okay no matter what. So talking to Tanya's point here, it's just like, we can grow and learn from this experience when we're down here. In some way, all experience is neutral, but just acknowledging how we place our own subjective, individual perspective on it. That is it. And that's our human, that's the gift we've been given to do that. So yes, thank you. I might just read it out and then I'm going to stop in a minute because I might be going around in a little circle here. I want some questions. So the guest house. This human being is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight, the dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And I love that last line, yeah. Because, you know, those circumstances out there, they ain't changing anytime soon. We've got another month of lockdown in the UK probably. What can we do as individuals to help us ride this roller coaster? I'm sure I'm going to have moments when I'm low again and I forget, because that's the whole point. The human experience, the psychological experience, the emotional experience, it's not that we're a fixed entity and experience is happening to us. It's a flow. Mommy. We're not objects. we are, if you think about it, whether it's biologically, chemically, from a physics point of view, constant flux, change, impermanence. I'm just a coalescence of energy in human form. But this capacity we have, which is a gift on one level, but also something that can go against us as human beings, the way we can create these constructions in our mind and creating solid entities. Think about it. In psychology, we talk about creating objects. We put things in boxes. And that's what happens. Basically, we label our experience as something. It becomes solid. It becomes real. And if we really attach it to our well-being, it therefore begins to control us. But when you see that life is a flow, this metaphor, isn't about feeling high and low. It's accepting we are going to have a huge number of different experiences, and they are not causally related to the outside. Yes, there's some kind of correlation, but there's a huge distinction there. The fact of the matter, the power of thought is always creating in the background. There's always going to be a new experience served up. If you've ever thought about your capacity to have an insight, a fresh thought, a fresh perspective on your situation, and this is where, these meetups, I want it to be practical for people as we begin to move out of a lockdown. It's like, what does this mean? It's an opportunity to start creating, living your life in a different way, taking maybe a different path in life. Yes, this creative process, this whole situation is an opportunity. But it's this idea that it can be, well, this is it kind of thing. And I think we have to acknowledge in that moment, I just read the little comments, I'm just trying to speak to the moment here, that some people, they'll retreat into themselves even more. For some people, there was a quote I read the other day, it's a bit provocative. It said, this current situation will make conscious people more conscious. So when we use the word conscious, aware, thinking beyond own self-interest and ego, really seeing how, beyond our narrow frame of the individual experience is a much more expanded version of reality. Or we can carry on being unconscious and become more unconscious, living out our programs, many of which may be based on fear and insecurity and inherited, conditioned beliefs. So if you've got a particular nationalistic view on the world, I won't complete that thought, but basically, are you going to end up opening up to the current situation, or are you going to retrench even more into your beliefs? I'll let people make up their own mind. Now, I like to think the people on this call are more very much in the conscious, but we're very much a world that's coming at us at the moment, and we can end up, maybe our vulnerabilities, our own fears and insecurities, can mean we retrench a little bit. But actually, I would say the current situation is an opportunity to really wake up and to grow from this situation. I've seen some of my own blind spots. So the current situation really is like, this is the John Maxwell point I kind of just lost in my thought there. Is that this is our chance to stand up. He was talking about being leaders. It's like, this is the proof in the pudding. We're all great in the good times, aren't we? But it's when the going gets tough. This is where our true mettle and our character, and basically I want to see this in a positive way, our capacity to come from a place of growth, love, compassion, kindness, generosity of spirit, rather than the opposite of all of those. It's not all about us, really, is it? So I've spoken for a little while. Like I said, if anyone's got any questions or want to share something, happy to hear that. Anything shared privately on the chat. But for me, just to conclude what I've been sharing tonight is that It looks like I have to be responsible for my experience. And on one level, absolutely. But my responsibility is understanding how my experience is created from within. That's the power and responsibility, to know that and see that. But knowing that I am the creator and that creation is coming from within me gives me the power, gives me that psychological freedom to be able to accept. It's like, this outside world right now, what's going on? Wow, what does it mean? There could be huge implications. And when we're able to cast our minds outside of our own individual interests and take a global perspective, what does that mean for developing countries? People with virtually nothing already. But it's natural we're thinking, what does this mean for me? Well, what's going to be most helpful for me? With I lost a contract, big contract in my business. Some of my coaching stuff went and disappeared, and now I'm creating other things. And everyone's got a story to tell there. I know people are having to work differently. People have been furloughed, dealing with the kids at home, losing. Absolutely. But for me, I think we are fundamentally resilient by design. There's something built into us. And when we drop out of our thinking, because that's the whole point of the roller coaster. If something's carrying me up, if something inside of me is bringing new experience that I'm not having to do, it's just kind of built into the design. The fresh thinking, the clarity that I may be, needing to say, you know what? I'm going to use this as an opportunity to create some change in my life. I'm going to maybe, go to those places inside of me that I've been brushing under the carpet for some time. Or, as one of you commented earlier, just to be in a completely different way. I've been reconnecting with old friends. I've been taking a broader perspective on my life. Maybe it's the time to move back to Manchester. I spent many happy years. There's always an opportunity, but it's not about getting something out of it, It's something that we can learn from, we can grow. So, like I said, I'm not going to hammer this. I don't know. Let me just look at the chat. If anyone wants to share anything. I don't know if this has been at all interesting, helpful. It's just seeing this flow that's always coming through us. And when I don't resist my experience, I can kind of feel sad and overwhelmed and a bit depressed, but I'm still okay. It's that whole thing, I think, it's used in therapy a lot. It's okay not to be okay. Because I think right now, what we need is people able to think clearly, people able to navigate, to access wisdom, to be able to float above the current situation and say, you know what, we can recreate society in a different way. And the point about, whether people have been coming together to support their local communities, finding incredibly creative, new and innovative ways to, whether it's making PPE for the NHS in some craft studios in Hackney. It's just, there's abundant examples like, wow. Or companies fundamentally saying, we can work in a completely different way now. Well, let's focus in on ourselves about how I want to be, how I can grow from this situation. Anna, is there anything you wanted to share or anything you wanted to ask?
Thank you very much. Yes. I'm thinking what you just said now is, I think, important is to be healthy and to have the people who are close to you alive.
Yeah.
And I think everything else you can manage around. I had grief for my dad nearly 2 years now.
Yeah.
And it's about timing, like you said. It's never the right time to someone to go, I think, from your life. And I think the experience, it's all the time with you, like the past, the future, and especially the present, what you really need to live, the present, the day, like you just said, day by day.
Yeah.
That it's me. I have my son with me all the time, and I think that's the important thing, to be there and present, really.
Absolutely, yeah. And I love you saying that about there is a process of prioritization of what's most important to us. And for a lot of
Yes.
us, that might be kind of really obvious, but our capacity to show up in the way that, you know, they need us. I think that often generally in this current situation, if you think about it, it's been bringing out the best in a lot of people. You know, there's a saying by one of my mentors, you remember this guy, Keith Blevins, Anna, in the training.
Yes.
You know, when I've got me on my mind, that's when my troubles begin. And
Yes.
the way that, and talking to Tanya's point earlier about people reconnecting in a different way, the gratitude and appreciation we've been showing to the NHS, we're looking outwards. And it's not all about me, me, me. Because if you think about it, when I'm in flow, whether it's at the top of the roller coaster, I'm not really conscious, yeah? I'm doing it. It's just coming through me. I'm not questioning it. I'm not really self-conscious, but I'm kind of aware though. And I'm not really thinking about me. I'm just in a good place. It all becomes about me, the idea of me, the story of me, at the bottom of the roller coaster. And therefore, what are these trigger points? These trigger points about, well, yeah, my community's in need. My family needs me. My family needs me to show up in a certain way. And that seems to bring out the best in us when we reach beyond our own individual perceived needs or what we think we need. Thank you. And that point there, Anna, it's so obvious, isn't it? But it's remembering it's only through the power of thought it can seem like we leave the present moment. You know, I do love
Yes,
the
it's true.
Eckhart Tolle. He talks about, you know, the present moment is just a series of they're not even small moments. It's just constant flow. Even time is a concept. Dave said it last week. I get it. I must get this the right way round. You know, time only exists in thought. Thought doesn't exist in time. I hope that got that the right way round. It's only ever this moment and again and again. And when we are present, and this is the point I'm trying to make here, we have access to our resources, our capacity for clarity, to do what's got to be done, to look after those who need our care, to basically maybe have the fresh thinking we need to deal with the situation. But when we're at the bottom of the roller coaster, what happens? We use the power of thought to depart the now, only through the power of thought. We haven't really gone anywhere, have we? Whether we are trapped in the past, it's like, well, only if I've made these different we start analysing. Or we get project out, and that's what people are doing at the moment, projecting out into the future. What will this mean for me? If this goes on for another 3 months and we get this whole, you know, the thought rabbits start breeding, growing and growing and growing. We're no longer truly connected to the present moment. We've used the power of thought to construct an alternative reality that we think is true or real and has a power to make us feel a certain way. And if we're not careful, I hope the internet's all right, we can end up inadvertently creating a self-fulfilling prophecy as we walk into that future that we most feared. So this is why I talk about conscious living. Conscious living is being as present as we can. And it's not being trite saying taking it a day at a time. It's taking it one moment at a time. So no matter what my experience I would want to label, good, bad, or ugly, knowing that it's going to change. I am life itself in a flow. There you go, absolutely. And this is the interesting thing. So I love that phrase, energy flows where attention goes. So therefore, where's our choice? So when I wake up tomorrow morning, this is why people have intentions, and some people they have a mantra or a meditation. It's where we put our energy. Where's my intentions today? Where do I want my energy to flow? Because there's also a choice, yeah? Because if there's any chronic overthinkers present, people watching, that takes a huge amount of energy, yeah? To actually ruminate and work through. And that's what the current situation can end up exacerbating. And what's really interesting at the moment, a lot of people are reporting, whether they've been ill or not, they're more tired. It's because we're not an automatic pilot so much. The human brain loves automatic habit, just predictability. So many programs running in the background. The whole situation's had to make us wake up. Those human programs that we so rely on as human beings, which kind of mean we can go out about our business, it's all been disrupted. We're having to be more conscious and aware. We're having to manage, which just takes a bit more energy, yeah? But isn't it interesting how I've noticed in the last few weeks, my routine settled down and changed and evolved? We adapt so quickly. But am I really consciously doing that? There's a beautiful, intelligent design to the human mind. And we can take some individual credit for it, but I like to see it in a more impersonal way. We're kind of built for reality, Jamie Smart says. And when he says that, we've got these innate qualities and resources within us. We're built for being able to deal with what's out there, whatever's going on. We might not like it. I don't like the current situation at all. But as one of my friends who's not present here tonight, it is what it is. See, there's so many aphorisms that are kind of relevant here. But it is what it is. Are we able to embrace it, to accept it, to acknowledge it, and to be okay with the fact that we're not always going to feel at our most resourceful? Is there anything else anyone wanted to share? One thing I was going to do, something I did at previous sessions, I had to do an opening or closing kind of just visualization. And it feels apt. So I'll close this call with a bit of a visualization about some intentions. What Linda said there about where we put our attention. Energy flows where attention goes. So maybe if you think about what has happened to you in the last week, if you've had a bit of a roller coaster of emotions and feelings, maybe over the next coming week, we can just do a little visualization now, yeah? So if people are okay to just really feel connected to where you're sat right now. Get really focused on a nice, slow breathing pattern. Really present. Nowhere to go, nowhere to be. Allow yourself to acknowledge in the coming days and weeks, you're going to have different experiences. You're going to ride that roller coaster. And maybe there's some kind of intention. So if you think of tomorrow, the coming week, something can come to mind about what's the most important intention. Where do you want to come from? Is there a word that springs to mind? Intentionality of how you want to live your life day to day. Is there a symbol? Is there an image that represents how you want to show up? Because stuff's going to happen, yeah. You're going to have a range of experiences. And what is it within you that is constant and unchanging, that's going to help you, it's going to guide you, going to help you navigate whatever happens on the outside? Because there's a part of you, the inside, that's never changing, that's whole, that's healthy, and completely accepting, yes. So just float out and just let come to mind an intention that crystallizes how you want to create, how you want to be, no matter what is going on in your life. Taking that into your heart right now as something that you can just draw on when you most need it. Taking a few slow, deep breaths, just to remind you, when we're really present and connected to our experience, everything's kind of okay. It is what it is. We're safe, we're secure. We've got everything we need in this moment. And the more connected we can feel to that flow of life, that energy of life, but it can help us. It can help us navigate these difficult times, these challenging circumstances. Okay. So, got a very relaxed, graceful little group tonight. Hopefully everyone's feeling in a nice place. I'm really grateful for those of you who've shown up tonight. And just reminding you, maybe you want to set an intention tomorrow. Maybe you want to write something down. How you want to be. How you want to show up. And then bring some conscious living and conscious awareness to how you are over the next 7 days. As you reflect over the last 7 days, maybe it's like, wow, I have had a bit of a roller coaster. I have had my ups and downs, but something inside of me that's always bringing me back up. And tomorrow I'm ready to go again. So thank you, guys. What I'm going to do is close this call off and stop recording, but just let it hang in there for a little bit longer so people can say some informal goodbyes. And for any of those of you out there who've been watching, I always say it, thank you for making it all the way to the end. I am incredibly grateful for your time, your energy. Hopefully it's been helpful. So thank you for watching. See you again soon.